I don't know what happened. It just you dropped off.
Yeah, it did. I thought, like, man, that was the quickest. Get rid of this guy quickly.
Oh, oh no! I should have done that to the girl from Kazakhstan when she said she didn't speak English. I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
I saw
that was.
that. I felt kind of bad for her because you were just like really killing her on the whole, the whole duo thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I felt bad, so I
Yeah,
started. That's why I told people vote for her.
I don't know how that works. Is it like how many likes or gifts you get or something like that? Is that?
Yeah, I think it's just whoever gives you the most stuff.
Yeah.
It's
And
I don't know.
you had
Seems
said
kind of silly.
you had said earlier that to reach you like through your website as far as the podcast thing is.
Yeah.
Do you? What about your new podcast? Can I submit and say like, "Hey, bring me on as a guest on your new
Oh,
podcast"?
absolutely. Yes, yes. You can either make a request for me to be on your podcast,
Yeah.
or submit to be a guest on my podcast. So
Yes.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have a podcast, but I've been on other podcasts. So
Oh, okay.
I'm like like the I you I think you would I can't wait to see what your podcast and philosophy is about because I mean I've got a good feeling it'll be very entertaining.
Well, that's my goal.
Yeah.
And inform. Just talk about philosophy in a way that people can comprehend it. It's not as difficult to understand as a lot of philosophers make it out to be.
Well,
You know what I mean?
there's certainly people that in that genre that really talk out there so far deep in left field that it leaves the rest of the average person behind. I would say when so it's nice to talk in human terms what we all think it's all about, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, awesome.
So I have to ask you because I am a native Hoosier. I'm here in South Carolina. But what did you do to Bob and Tom to get sort of banned?
Oh, well, it was funny because it was through a friend, another comedian who got me on the show.
Yeah.
And when he got me on the show, when he pitched me to be on the show, he told them one of my jokes. And the joke was about my daughter, who came out as bisexual to me.
Yeah.
And it's just a joke about that whole experience. And so they heard that joke, and because of that joke, they wanted me on the show. And so I said, well, did they want me to do that joke? And the understanding I had was that, yes, they wanted me to be on the show and to do that joke. So I did that joke. As soon as I did the punchline, they went to commercial, and then they dropped me and didn't even say goodbye or anything. They just dropped me. I don't know what the deal was, but I never heard back from them. And I was supposed to do 2 segments. I did half a segment, and it was over. And
wow. I mean, did they say after that? I mean, it
nothing. I've had absolutely no communication at all. They just dropped it, cut out, and then one of the producers said, "Okay, thank you," and they shut off the communication. That was it. It was over. So
it kind of reminds me of that years ago. Was it Crispin Glover that did the late night with Dave Letterman, and he sort of did like a kick to Letterman's head, and like it went to commercial real quick, and they came back, and he was gone. You know what actor I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, he was from. He was in the first Back to the Future.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was a weird dude. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the following night they open up the show with Dave in bed having a bad dream, and Paul wakes him up, and Biff wake him up, and he said he had this horrible dream that Crispin Glover kicked him in the head. It was the weirdest, late night sort of, you see stuff that happens on those shows that I think that's what made them so great back in the day was there were some unpredictable things that would happen, in those days. But
Yeah.
but yeah, like I said, I wanted to come on here and thanks for being a mutual and everything. I'm always stoked because I had a pretty big channel on the other side, and we were mutuals at one time, and then sort of wiped out got out of the political stuff, and started doing the screen printer stuff to kind of teach people that's in our business how to do it, since I'm the old crusty veteran.
Yes.
And so that that's been actually more fruitful than getting death threats from people.
Yeah. I chose a long time ago to just stop participating in all that, because it's like it's so everywhere, and I hate arguing with people.
Yeah.
Especially because I did debate in high school and college. I went to college on a debate scholarship, so I know that just because you're good at making an argument doesn't mean you're right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
people that are like that in this, but how since you're a comedian, how are comedians approaching such a divisive, political climate, where in the past, like, everybody would just pick on the president, no matter who he was, type of thing, back in the day. But how are comedians approaching their craft?
It's really coming that if you're going to do political stuff, that you basically just choose a side and you work that side. If you try to toe the line and be political and make fun of both sides, very few people can pull it off, because what happens is that people have become so sensitive to their side that as soon as you make any sort of an inference that they're wrong or make their side look bad, they'll hate you, and regardless of what you say about the other side. It's just as soon as you say something bad about them, they hate you. Or if they have an inkling of the possibility that you disagree with them on anything political, then, of course, you're a horrible, rotten, terrible, miserable person, and you should die.
Yeah.
Because you're standing in the way of their world peace.
Well, there's some, it seems like, just to me, it seems like most comedians that are doing political things are fairly on the liberal side of things, or I should say progressive thoughts.
It's the majority of the industry is very liberal. Yeah. And it's entertainment, so it's so a lot of them are liberal. There are some a lot of conservative comedians, but most conservative comedians are basically just not talking about politics.
Yeah,
because there's so much, and a lot of it is just because, the thing I dislike about politics is it's basically just the same jokes over and over again. It's, hey, those guys are a bunch of idiots and they don't know what they're talking about. That's it. I mean, that's it. It's just, it's the philosophy of the theory of superiority theory of humor, is that it's the idea that our side's the champions and we throw rocks at our enemies. And that's how most people do politics. But I think a lot of people, we get into comedy because we just want to entertain people and make people laugh. We're not really trying. I'm not. I don't need to be the
yeah.
The spokesperson of the zeitgeist of our times. I just want to be silly and tell funny jokes, and that's it. That's all I'm trying to do.
And it seems like like cultivating things that are funny are it's things that are the truth that you're identifying and bringing it out on a plate for people to see from a different perspective, or at least that's what I see. Like in comedy, is that there has to be an element of a truth or something that.
Absolutely. It's like I tell people, I don't really write jokes. I write the truth, and the jokes just show up.
Yeah.
And when you're able to, that's the fun thing I do with my character. His name's Leonard, by the way.
Leonard is the guy we're seeing on TikTok?
Yes, his name is Leonard McCrunsky, and he's patterned after my grandfather, who was an alcoholic. And he would always tell stories and give lessons to me and my cousin, because we were about the same age. And, he was drunk most of the time. And so it kind of came out as this weird, discombobulated nonsense. And then all of a sudden he would say something brilliant and then, call us knuckleheads and tell us to go outside. And one day I was watching my friend's not TikTok, but he was on Instagram, and he was doing these life coach videos, where he's, they say, hey, do you need permission to be successful? Well, I'm here to give you that permission. And in fact, you know what? I'm here to give you permission that you don't need my permission. The only permission you need is yours. That kind of, he was, and it made me laugh because I'm watching this going, he's saying something that's really, really nice. He's saying something that's supportive, and it's uplifting. It's intent to be a positive thing. But yet, I could see, it's just one of those things where you go, oh, another one of these guys, and you just blow past it. And it made me laugh, and then that's when I got the idea. That's it. My drunk grandfather as the world's worst motivational speaker.
Yeah,
and that's where he came from. That's the impetus of the character, and that he's so oblivious to what we think is important. Because he's focused on what really is important. So, if you look at any of these life coaches, they all have, perfect tan. They've got their hair's perfect. They're in front of a mansion. They've got a Bentley and a Ferrari or a Lamborghini behind them, and they got beautiful women, and they got all these, how to be successful. You're number one, be the alpha male, all that stuff. And I thought a lot of this stuff that they're teaching is nonsense.
Yeah.
You're not going to find, look, I agree. A Lamborghini is a great car. I wouldn't mind having one. But if your whole happiness and your self-identity is wrapped up in all that, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to have enough. You're never going to have the best, because as soon as you have whatever it is you get, pretty soon you're going to find out there's something even better that you should, you know what I mean? So you're never find happiness in getting possessions. And so, and the greatest lessons that you can learn in life, you're not going to get at a seminar that charges you $20,000 for the weekend. You go out to some resort and listen to a bunch of seminars that tell you, ooh, have a focused plan, you're a winner, but
or walk. And I
just it's silly, and so I thought, that's it. I'm going to become that guy. That's who my character is. Is that none of this stuff that we think is important to him, and just started making the videos and having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I bet everyone that follows you and follows your channel remembers the first time they saw you on TikTok because it left us such an impression. And I remember thinking to myself, because you had like these, like there would be like these long pauses in between that were just, you couldn't leave. You're like, I was surprised there wasn't like a burning building behind you as you were saying these words, like this irony, but yeah, I mean, that's probably why you've, went viral, or your following just, snowballed like really quickly, because of being, different. And having a different take, and it's a black and white thing. People just, they look at you or your character Leonard, and they're just like, "Yeah, I've got to see more of this guy." You're just like, "Who the fuck's this guy?" And then
absolutely, yeah. It's you either love me or hate me.
Yeah, you're
as I have learned.
yeah, and then you're hooked. You're in. You're in, but I'm definitely going to hit you up on your website, because I've enjoyed doing the couple of podcasts that I've done. I love just the whole idea of the podcast, because you can listen to it casually, and you can just pick and choose what you want. But it's fun being a guest on there, because it brings stuff out of you that it's people talking, and if you're interesting, can hold a conversation, then it's usually a pretty decent podcast. It's a great format.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I had been doing kind of at the first of the whole COVID thing. I'd started doing somewhat where I was interviewing just random individuals, friends that I've had over the years, and just sat down with them. And I was having a lot of fun with it, but then just things got crazy and I wasn't able to do it anymore. But recently I've been playing around with the idea of doing a podcast, and I had so much fun doing that I want to go back to it. But then add, a lot more philosophy, and just a little more entertaining.
Yeah, trying to figure the world out, one podcast at a time.
Yep, that's it. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
Whether we like to or not, we are.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate you accepting the invite. I tried to get in earlier, but I realized that you don't have your guest thing turned on where they come up as little people. So then I went live, and then I was able to ask you to co-host.
Okay.
Yeah, so typically I don't do live, but I know you can set it up to do the, multiple people where you see them like down the side, and like, yeah. So I was like, how the hell do I, it's been so long that since I went, live or tried to do this, that I finally figured out, okay, I have to go live and then go find you, and then say like, hey, can we co-host? We're co-hosting together.
Co-hosting, okay.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure out this whole TikTok thing.
Yeah, it changes a lot with all the the updates and whatnot, but yeah, this is great stuff, and thanks to all my people that come in here and said hello. I just want to say hey to them, because we've got the people in there. They're used to seeing me talking about Adobe Illustrator and printing T-shirts and shit. Now I'm talking to Rodney. You do a live as Leonard at some point. That would be great, right? Will you do that?
Yeah, I should. I did. I used to do Facebook Lives as Leonard. I would do little seminars. Yeah. There's a couple of those still floating out there, but yeah, I need to do one. I need to do that as Leonard one of these times.
I love this platform as much as there was problems on the other side of the TikTok. I love this platform. It has been so great for me, and now I finally get to share knowledge with people. And whereas before I was just riling up millions of views on just people saying, yeah, what he said, and now I get people, thanks for helping me, with my business. So that's what's been rewarding me, is actually be able to give my experience in a my career to help the next, the next generation of T-shirt printers, of all things, right?
We started. I got to tell you this. We started doing our own T-shirts ourselves. We've been doing them where we do the vinyl and we do the heat press. Yeah. But we want to get into doing the silk screening,
dude. We're mutuals. We're mutuals. So I'll definitely. Dude, I'm an expert in this field, so I help a lot of creators out, even off my old channel. The guys the big ones that are doing a lot of merch, and I've got the answers for you. I run a huge shop, but a lot of times I'm not going to be like, yeah, do business with me. I'm going to just show you like, oh, well, here's the route you should take to maximize what you're doing. And it's all based on volume you're doing. And you're probably vinyl's a pain in the ass with the weeding and all that kind of stuff. So, and that's just something, like I said, that I do with my channel, especially with other creators that are selling merch, because a lot of them are stuck and they're like, okay, how do I figure this out? So I don't do that stuff on my TikTok, but Zoom calls or whatever, and I can say, okay, well, here's your options, and this is how this is done, and this is how this is done. So, and then if your artwork is crappy, which a lot of TikTokers it's just terrible. It's just like I threw some text up here in some font that you just, it should be against the law to use Comic Sans on a T-shirt. But anyway, as I like to say it, it's got to pass the 10-foot rule. If somebody can't make out and know exactly what your shirt says from 10 feet, it's the wrong font. Yeah. And so if they have really crappy artwork, I'm just brutally honest with people, because I feel like if you're a friend to someone, then you have to tell them the truth. And I get in trouble with this with the business sometimes, where I get in trouble where people will like look at me, where a customer sends in a design to me for me to put on a T-shirt, and I'm like, this is a piece of crap. and they hear me and they're like, oh, well, I'm sorry, Mike. But the true friends of mine that they appreciate the fact that I'm telling them. It's one thing to tell somebody they have a piece of crap art, but I'm like, here, let me do something better, and then
let me fix this. Let me.
Yeah, so the world can have better T-shirts. But yeah, we do a lot of cool stuff, and I'd be happy to help you figure that out.
That'd be awesome.
I'll hit you up on your website about the podcast thing, and then we'll take it from there. But here I am. I am Screen Printer Mike. So I'm
Screen Printer Mike.
I'm your T-shirt guy. You probably, over the years, screen printers were notorious, for, it's a thing, the T-shirt thing. There's a lot of colorful characters in this business. Let's just put it that way.
Yes. I have a brother who does. He does screen printing, but he works at he builds the screens for companies, for companies.
Yeah.
So he knows the whole bit. He knows how to do everything, but he does it at like a large scale, like huge businesses kind of stuff. And he sets up their screens. So it's kind of his expertise is sort of overkill. He's
So
doing like huge banners and that kind of stuff.
So he's actually in the printing business, but he does oversized or really large.
Yeah,
screen prints?
it's like all commercial stuff. It's
Yeah.
for like big corporations and stuff. He said he'll clean their screens and then redo them.
Oh,
You know what I'm
okay.
talking about?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
does that. He builds the screens.
Yes, he's a screen stretcher. He stretches giant ass screens, right?
Yes.
That's what he
Yes.
remeshes the screens.
Yes.
Yeah. It is such a cool process. If people don't know how T-shirts are born, screen printing, I've been doing this for 35 years. Since I was a kid, I've been doing this, and I still love it, man. I still love, and all of our machines are automatic and we print like large volume, but there's one hand press, and I'm the old guy that goes back there and pulls, and prints my,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's cool because running the place, I could just do a one of a kind shirt if I wanted. If I want a picture of Bob Dylan, I could draw it and then print it on my own shirt. It's not like, oh, we're going to sell or bootleg these. It gets back down to like, I'm doing this as an art form. And that's what
yeah.
being in it is because, it is this cool way of replicating art. And like I said, we have to do it for money and business and high volume and all that. But at the end of the day, it's still a cool thing to do. It's an artsy, cool thing. Andy Warhol screen printed, the infamous Marilyn Monroe things. Those were screen printed. And still, we're doing it the same way. It's just fabric and a stencil and fabric. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun doing the t-shirts. This is the weird thing for me is having people want to put my face on their body.
Yes.
And because it got to the point where people were requesting it, and we're like, well, what do we do? So my wife just started trying to figure out what was the easiest way to start doing it. So we discovered the vinyl technique and the heat press, and so where our t-shirts are very basic. But
I'm going to save your wife a lot of headache. Like I said, we'll talk, and you're going to say, "Oh my gosh, my wife will be so happy she doesn't have to weed anymore."
That's the biggest. That's the biggest thing. Getting the little tweezers and the little
There's a new technology in town, and it saves you so much time and money that you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm doing this. And I think it's going to be perfect because you already have it heat pressed. So, and it'll give you the latitude to do a lot more things. I think Leonard could have a line of shirts too with some cool.
Well, you're right about that. That's I kind of wanted to start doing more stuff specifically for Leonard, so that people understand that he's a character.
Yeah.
I have people that get they find out that I'm an actor and a comedian, and they get pissed.
Yeah.
They get really mad at me because it's like, you lied. And I'm like, no, I'm an actor, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Oh, the other thing is, I've had people, I think this is my fifth person has put my face on a birthday cake.
Okay.
It's so weird. It's so weird. It's like, wow, this is bizarre.
Well, I think, your the fame that comes with, being in your line of work, is a huge responsibility because especially for somebody like you, I could see other people just letting the ego go, but your very character, you have to fight the ego off with a stick, You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's easy to tell that you're a very grounded person. You would be somebody that I would run into at the grocery store and say, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And we would chit chat and go on our way. So you've been able to keep this genuine sense, and I think that's part of the likability. And I'm just talking from the outside, like how I kind of like look at you.
Yeah.
Is
No, it's fun when I run into people out, and I get a lot of people who just kind of look at me and smile.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, I know who you are, but I don't want to bother you.
Yeah,
those are fun. I get a lot of people who will stare at me and go, I know this person, but I don't know why I know this person.
Yeah.
But my favorite ones are the people who just come up to me and just, they say, Rodney, hey, I can't believe you're here. Can I get a picture? Absolutely. Let's get a picture. Love to. It's still, I imagine some people get tired of it. And when I hear stories of celebrities who are like, get away from me, I could kind of understand how you could get to that point. If you're everywhere you go, you're mobbed. But I haven't gotten anywhere close to that. So it's still fun when people see me in public and come up and talk to me. I love it.
And you probably don't want to be that, do you? Like,
no, I don't. No, I never want to get to that point. And but I love being a part of people's journey. Like I love the fact that people watch the videos and they're having fun. I've had people who've said, look, I've been depressed for years because my wife died and I just haven't found anything interesting or funny. And then I watch your video and I just start laughing to the point that I start crying, and it's just a relief. And hearing those kinds of stories is just it blows my mind, but it's such an honor. I really feel like it's a calling of some sort, to bring this character to the world.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love all of it. It was funny because, when people started approaching me, I remember there was this family, and the parents came up to me and they said, man, we watch your videos. We think you're so funny and you're so interesting. And they said, we appreciate that you can make something that I can feel good about sharing with anybody. And that they can let the kids, they show the kids the videos, and that there's lessons to be learned. And of course, there's just a lot of silliness as well. But as I'm talking to the parents, there's a 13-year-old boy with them, and he looked like he was not interested at all. He wouldn't make eye contact. He was just kind of standing off. And I thought, okay, this kid doesn't care, for me at all, right? But as they're getting ready, they're like, hey, can we get pictures? And I'm like, oh, sure. And then the boy, he finally, I guess he got the nerve up, and he looks at me and he goes, it's really an honor to meet you. I've never met a celebrity before. So I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. And it just struck me, and I was like, my initial reaction is that that humility of like, I'm not famous, I'm just a knucklehead that makes videos. I'm not a celebrity. And then it just hit me. I was like, this is a big moment for this kid. Why am I going to ruin it? Why don't I just enjoy being that to him? And I looked at him. I says, well, it's the first time for me to meet you, so it's weird for me too. And And, I shook his hand, and he got a big smile on his face, and we took pictures. And it was at that moment that I was like, you know what? I'm just grateful when I have those moments with people. I enjoy getting to be a part of that,
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know how people get tired of it. Yeah. I don't think I ever will, because I thoroughly enjoy it. My favorite one was, I was sitting there pumping gas. I think it was in Indiana, right? I'm pumping gas, and this guy on the other side of the pump from me, he just kind of leans over and he's like, "Are you Rodney Norman?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hey, I love your videos. Thanks." I'm like, "Okay, thank you." And he goes, "Okay." And then he just went back to pumping his gas. I was just like, "Oh, that was bizarre."
Yeah.
It's funny. It's fun. It's fun getting to be a part of that.
Yeah, this is it's got to be humbling for sure. And even in my small circle, I'm humbled by people, thanking me for teaching them something. And I did the flip thing. I was on TikTok with 90,000 followers and lots of viral videos, selling stickers and all kinds of crazy stuff, but it wasn't helping anything. And so that was just all ego, let me make another viral video type thing. So that's what I found is the beauty of this platform. Is I just said, okay, I'm going to start this other channel and just do, who I really am, the screenpreneur that loves, making cool T-shirts, right? So, but being able to share that, like I said, it's humbling when someone's like, "Thanks, I've learned so much from your videos. I never got that on the other channel. In fact, I'm trying to give this channel away." You would think somebody would want 92,000 followers, but it's been very difficult to pass it on to someone that will, because it's sort of stuck in that political vein, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all of the followers, all of that are it's, and there's people that follow me on that channel, like Rosie O'Donnell and who's the Korean female comedian? What's her first name? Chung. Is her last
Margaret
name?
Cho?
Yeah, Cho. Yeah, it's Margaret
Cho. I worked with Margaret Cho. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were really nice, and they followed me and they chatted with me a little bit and stuff. So,
that's cool.
Yeah. So that part was fun, but the rest, I was not helping the world, man. And now I feel
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So, and my wife thinks, I was crazy for giving up this channel with all the views and all that I was doing. But like I said, I just realized it ended up being about my ego instead of me like giving something. So, you figure out how can I add value to people? And
yes.
And so that's how I changed into this smaller channel that makes me so much more motivated to, show people, the craft and to save them, stuff that I've learned. When you know a craft, you know all the tricks because you've been doing it for all these years.
Yeah.
And so, and other people would think you are crazy because you're putting people in business against you. But in the end, if we lose customers, then we're not treating them right. That's the truth.
Oh, and when you have that mentality, it's a scarcity mentality. But when you have an abundant mentality, when you think, "Oh, there's plenty for everybody,"
yeah,
then there usually is, Plus, I think a lot of people get into T-shirts. A lot of artists see it for being able to create an art that people would wear, and that you could actually create your art and sell it. Versus, not everybody's not everybody's into buying art to put on their wall because they don't necessarily have a wall, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you get into the artistry of a T-shirt, well, everybody wears a shirt,
Yeah.
So you just.
And they keep recycling, you get different shirts. In fact, that's what I'm a huge fan of. Back in the 80s, you would have to draw whatever you wanted to put on a shirt. There wasn't all this digital technology.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, if you did a motorcycle shop, an artist had to draw the motorcycle in black and white, and then we'd photograph it and then make a stencil out of it. And these days, everything is so digital that, my favorite, I still buy T-shirts. I mean, I'm a man of a million shirts, but
me too.
Yeah, I buy T-shirts if I like the art. If it's hand drawn, that's even a plus. But I buy it because I'm like, yeah, that's a cool piece of art. I'm going to support that. Where it's like I'm a farmer that's buying eggs, from other people when I have 100 chickens, and it doesn't make sense on one level. But yeah, I love the art part of it, and it's sort of like we're getting back to the 80s where if you hand draw something, that's cool again. Because digital art is, it's
all right, but it loses some of that personality. It loses. It becomes, it's too technical.
Yeah. And even some of my favorite artists like Alex Gray or something like that, which is be very difficult to print. I know people screen print his stuff, but I don't know if you've ever heard of Alex Gray, but his stuff is incredible. He's like the DMT guy. Have you ever Tool, the band Tool uses his art a lot. It's very dimensional and very geometric. Let's put it that way.
Alex what?
Alex Gray.
Gray.
Yeah. His stuff is so recognizable.
Oh yeah, this is very psychedelic looking stuff.
That is all his sort of what the DMT world looks like.
Yeah. Let me see. I don't know if people can see it. That was the first image that pops up. I don't know if.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's a pretty cool looking stuff. I think I've actually seen T-shirts of that.
Yeah.
Before, or like something like it.
Yeah, any kind of Grateful Dead or Fish or, like I said, Tool. He's done a lot of work for them, but he's been around. I think he's pretty old these days. But he's a guy that he draws this stuff. I mean, he paints these incredible images. But like I said, art in its rawest form, and that's what happens. Have you noticed that everything that's went digital, it lowers in quality for a long time? Like photography, as soon as people had 1 megapixel cameras, everyone thought they were a photographer.
Yes.
When photography is really within the eye and the setup and the lighting and all of these other things, but that's what's happened to everything around us. As things become digital, like art, immediately it just became this sort of generic thing that everybody could just duplicate it easily.
Yeah.
But photography went through the same process where, you used to have to hire photographers and stuff. Oh, that's nice. You used to have to
Yeah.
hire photographers to, shoot any kind of occasion. And now everyone is walking around. But the photos from, 30, 40, 50 on back years ago, they're better than just the everyday, like we're just taking a bunch of iPhone pictures all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's sort of this weird thing where it becomes more accessible to your average person. I mean, you have in your hand, in your phone, you have a camera that I would have killed for when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, to have a camera of this quality like that's amazing. I mean, I used to have the little roll and you had the little numbers, remember those? And you had to really think about what you were going to take a picture of, because it was going to be at least 2 weeks before you remembered you had the film, and then you had to go drop it off and then go pick it up and then look through all the photos, and out of 24 photos, you'd have 6 that you actually turned out all right, that kind of stuff. But so more people, it's more access to more people. And so more people get to experience what it's like to do photography, and they think that they're great at it. But then when you see a real photographer at work, I think people start to, I think we're getting to that point where people are starting to understand that there's an artistry, like you were saying, there's an eye, there's an understanding about photography that not everybody has. So I have a son who, I've had cameras in the house since these kids were little. Because I'm in entertainment, and so I've always had cameras, video cameras, and stuff. And I've been a photographer, not professional, but I've just it's been a hobby. But my son, had it from such a young age, which, when I was a kid, to have a really high quality camera was just never going to happen until you got older, because they were so expensive. But now they get access to it younger, and they can take as many pictures as they want. They don't have to be conservative with the film. They can go crazy and experiment. And so it's sort of, it's gone down in quality in some respects, but at the same time, it's exposed more people to the art. And so some of the stuff becomes even better. And people, I find this interesting. There's a lot of photographers who are trying to go back to film.
Yes.
Just because there's a different, there's just something you could create with film that you just can't get digitally. And regardless of how many filters you use.
Yeah, the same with vinyl, the dynamic that you have in analog as compared to digital that compresses the music. That's another example of my digital made everything more accessible, but it lowered the quality of the experience. But there's something really cool, though, what you were talking about in like in high school when you took those pictures and you had to wait, is that it made them more valuable or precious. It
was an event when you got the pictures. Yeah.
Exactly. And now, there's even a term for it. Like when you look at the picture, it's called chimping. Did you know that term, chimping?
Chimping? No, that's the first time I've heard it.
Yeah, and the reason why they call it chimping is like this. Pretend this is a digital camera, and like you take a picture and then you chimp. The chimping because you're going ooh ooh ooh, ooh.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, ooh ooh, and you're showing people ooh. Ooh, I got this picture because you got it right there, instantaneous, right? So photographers, if you're a pro, you don't chimp. You just take the picture because you have the exposure and the aperture and everything. Chimping cheating, but you're right. I would love to go back to film. I have this old camera that was my grandfather's. It's a little Rolleiflex thing. It's a box that you look through, and you see the picture, and it's got two lenses. One is the one you're looking through, but it shoots these negatives that are humongous by today's standard. They're giant. And I would love to play around with that, because then you're going to get these like true old, like this is how grandpa had to do it, type thing.
Yeah.
So that's that in my mid 50s wanting to be nostalgic,
I remember I took a photography class in high school, and we were still doing we had to do our own film, the dark rooms and the chemicals and doing all that stuff. But that's how I learned to do photography, was doing that stuff.
And see, all of my photography, doing the A and B developer and then putting it in the fixer, all of mine were T-shirt designs,
Oh.
Yeah, I was shooting graphic images on a flat board. I wasn't shooting people. Everything was done in the dark room, where you would shoot a little negative of your art that you drew, and then you would blow it back up and scale it up to be T-shirt size. Oh. And so they were film positives. They were clear instead of paper, right? So yeah. That was my experience in the darkroom. And in fact, my friends would tell you I would sleep in there. I was supposed to be working, but I darkroom, and you would lock the door because nobody could come in on you, so, yeah. It was like the late 80s. So I was, 19, 20. So I probably partied too much and was a little tired the next day. So I would take little naps in the dark room. And when somebody knocked on the room, I'm like, the film's out, But yeah, those were good times. Those were good times.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I should get off here. It's 11 o'clock here in South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Same here. I'm up in Connecticut.
Up in Connecticut. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever, I'll know if you ever make it down here to South Carolina to do a show.
I'd love to. Yeah, I've got a brother that lives in Charlotte.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah. Right down the road. I'm in upstate, so we're real close to Asheville, which is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
So we have lots of cool things to do around here, lots of hikes with waterfalls and stuff like that. And
I love the Carolinas. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I moved from Indiana. It was just colder. It's cold, man. It's just freaking cold. So when the kids were, I left the nest, I left their asses up in Indiana. So, sorry. But
yeah, I lived we lived in Hubert, North Carolina which is next to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Back as I was stationed at Camp Lejeune for a couple of years.
So you were a Marine.
Yes.
So you guys used to come to Fort Bragg. I was in the 82nd Airborne at Fort Bragg.
Yeah.
And you guys would come to our post to fire artillery because your artillery ranges got shut down. This was late 80s because of the red cockaded woodpecker. And you couldn't, they were protecting that species. And so the Marines would come to Fort Bragg. So you get Marines and paratroopers together. It was not a good thing. We hated each other.
What? Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Why would that be a problem? They're fellow servicemen that love each other and get along. It's a brotherhood.
And it was during the war, too. But as soon as the war was over in the Gulf, we were fighting in Khobar Towers over there in Saudi Arabia with the Marines because they were you guys are legs, as we call you, because if you're not airborne, then you're a leg.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yeah, Marines. Yeah. It gives you a different perspective, the military. I'm glad I served because I got to go to, around the world and, value life a lot better. I never feel
Oh
sorry
yeah.
because if I start feeling sorry for myself, I remember what it's like in a foxhole in the Middle East, and I think, you know what, it's not too damn bad that
Yeah.
we just
Yeah. Yeah.
it the
It,
perspective's incredible.
that's for sure. That
But
is most sure.
I guess I'm gonna jump off here. I guess I feel like I've taken part of your life
Oh
from
no,
you.
thank you. No, thanks for joining me. It was nice having somebody that speaks English
Yeah.
to join me.
Well, we talk soon. Like I said, I want to do the podcast, but I definitely want to set you straight and get you from so you're not weeding anymore. Like I said, it's stuff that my company doesn't do because I do large volume type stuff. But I will show you the light, and you'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this is so much better!" And you'll me forever for that. So I'll definitely write you and say like, hey, we talked, and a 10-minute chat about merch, and I think you'll get away from the vinyl pretty
Oh,
quick.
that would be great. I look forward to it because we need to find a way to stream because our T-shirt sales are well, it was just one or two here and there. It wasn't a big deal, but now it's getting to the point where it's getting pretty steady. We gotta come up with a better system. So yeah, I look forward to hearing from you on it.
I will help you, brother. Thanks a lot for the time. I will cherish this for a long time, and
Oh well, thank you.
I hope to be in your presence and shake your hand one day.
Oh, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will, my friend.
All right, peace, brother.
All right, we'll see ya.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Now I can't. Now the uncomfortable part of me like trying to power off this thing.